Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our show titled Speak of Africa. We have a lot of great news for you today. For the show of today, we're asking a question. How is the post-Biya era going to be like? Is it going to be well managed or is it going to be chaos? Well, the post-Biya era has started because Biya is not really the one in charge anymore. The soldiers are speaking. Before, it was the turn of civilians. But with this video of today, we're going to tell you the predicament of soldiers of Cameroon, what they are talking about, the way they are expressing their despair, disappointment with the regime of Paul Biya. But what we're witnessing are the final days of the Biya regime. Do you know that these soldiers now are really now to speak truth to power? They are speaking because they have been touched, they have suffered under this regime, they have been made slaves by this regime, and they don't want to be slaves anymore. When they listen to the Cameroon national anthem, "Oh Cameroon," they just feel like, where is the patriotism? They joined the army because they wanted to serve their country. But they have been forced to become silent. They have been forced to become machines, killing machines, to satisfy a dictator. That's the predicament of most of these soldiers. Before, they were keeping quiet, but now they are talking. Especially the conflict between Issa Tchiroma and Paul Biya has forced a lot of these soldiers to start talking. So the military in Cameroon is no longer silent. They are speaking. And things are going to get worse in the next few days. So we have a whole lot of revelations we're going to make to you. So just stay tuned, okay? For starters, do you know that there has been a cabinet reshuffle in Cameroon? Big time cabinet reshuffle. What's happening with this cabinet reshuffle? Of course, for a long time, we were thinking that after October 12, Biya would announce new members of his cabinet. He took time because there has been a war of the clans taking place in La République du Cameroon. Of course, you know that Mr. Biya is of the Beti extraction. When you talk about Beti people, you have the Bulus, the Etons, and the Ewondos. Mr. Biya comes from the Bulu segment. His wife Chantal comes from the Ewondo segment, Nanga Eboko, to be precise, Dimako. For a long time, Chantal Biya has been positioning herself to be the president after her husband, just like Grace Mugabe was doing in Zimbabwe. She's powerful, she uses her female wives. So she placed her own guys, like Ferdinand Gongo as the Secretary General at the presidency. Oswa Baboke. All those guys were key players for Chantal. But with a new cabinet, Ferdinand Gongo, the guy who had presidential signature, has been deposed. Can you believe it? So many people wanted this to happen. Why is this happening? Because Paul Biya is clearing the way for his son to take over as president. You saw even the story of Kathy Meba, Paul Biya's niece. She wants to take control of the South so that when the moment comes, it will be easy for Franck Biya to dominate the South and be catapulted into the presidency without much resistance. They will be able to crush any form of resistance, so they are making room for Franck Biya. Okay? But at the same time, the soldiers are not happy about all of this. For so long, the soldiers have been watching from a distance. They have been forced to kill people. They are tired of killing people. They are tired of killing their own people. So now they want to speak. Now they want to sing. They are lamenting. And when I look at the lamentation, it's like they are singing the blues. In America, during the ancient days, they talk about people sing the blues. The blues is music of pain. It's a universal language that people express suffering. When they sing the blues, they are in despair. They are in disappointment. They don't accept their condition. They are just unhappy with their condition as human beings. And that's what is happening to most of the soldiers from La République du Cameroon. A lot of them are speaking. But of course, because you know in the army, you have like a tale of two series. You have The higher guys who have good positions, the officers, and you have the rank and file. Most of the rank and file are the ones who bear the burden of being in the army. When you talk about like most of the war zones, these guys are tired of being continuously deployed. Okay? They are deployed all the time. So there's deployment fatigue. While the big guys are in Yaoundé enjoying turning wars into a business, the average soldier is the one bearing the brunt. And the soldiers now are speaking. Even when we were working on this video, a lot of the soldiers send us messages. We're not going to reveal their identities, okay? They send us a lot of messages because they are tired of the Biya regime. Even when they were voting on October 12th, a lot of these soldiers decided not to vote for Paul Biya. They voted against Paul Biya. They voted for Issa Tchiroma Bakari. Even in Yaoundé, most of these soldiers who belong to Biya's tribe chose not to vote for Biya. They voted for Issa Tchiroma. So you can sense the depth of discontent among these soldiers. So already the top brass are sensing that there may be mutiny in the Cameroon army. If care is not taken, things will collapse and fall into pieces. That's the danger. Because there are even threats that Tchiroma may have to come back to Cameroon. If Tchiroma is coming back to Cameroon, what do you think is going to happen? He is coming back to face the music. I think he's prepared. He has been silent for a while, and we told you we know why he was silent. He was preparing the way. He's coming back to take over the crown. He knows that this crown belongs to him. Biya is a thief. He stole his victory. So Tchiroma wants to reclaim his throne from Paul Biya. So he knows that the throne Biya is wearing belongs to him. The people know that. So Tchiroma is planning. And the Biya government has made a lot of mistakes. The international community is watching, already in Paris. Do you know that Issa Tchiroma found his way in Paris? People are even suspecting that he has been holding secret meetings with Emmanuel Macron. So what do you think most of these meetings are for? Well, Macron and his team are preparing the way for the after Biya era. They are trying to manage the transition because they don't want a lot of chaos. The French have a lot of interest in Cameroon. Oil, gas, wood. They want to maintain tranquility so that business can run smoothly without any disruptions. That's the interest of the French. They don't care about Cameroonians, but they don't want war to mess things up. That's their main concern. So Tchiroma is planning to return from the Gambia. His lawyer has already sued people in the Biya government for crimes against humanity, genocide. So for so long, people were talking about genocide in Ambazonia. Nobody wanted to listen. But Tchiroma, one of their own, has been able to put together a case against Paul Biya. So things are getting tougher and tougher and tougher. The soldiers know about this, and they want to take advantage of this crisis to sing the blues, to sing more better blues. And we'll talk about soldiers. The problem is the Biya regime has been manhandling soldiers from different tribes. If you're not from the Beti tribe, you were silenced, you were not given bullets. So they only made it possible for the Beti soldiers to have bullets in their guns. So even when you see most of the people who have been killed, they have been killed by soldiers who belong to Biya's tribe. If you come from a different tribe, they think you may not be bold enough to kill people. But when you come from Biya's tribe, they know because of tribalism, you're going to shoot and kill for sport. And that's what has been happening. Tchiroma has all this information, and Tchiroma has a veto to file a case at the International Criminal Court against the government of Paul Biya. If this doesn't shake this government of Paul Biya, I don't know what else will. So stay tuned. This is going to shake the Biya government to its foundation, to the core. Okay? This is what's going to happen. Things are not going to be well. Biya has named his new cabinet. Of course, Ferdinand Gongo is not there. Who else is not there? Our bosom friend, Paul Atanganji, Minister of Territorial Administration, is out. Now they've put him in a place where I think he will fit better because he's been making a lot of noise. He killed Ainsi Ekane. He killed Ainsi Ekane and he bragged about it. How can you commit murder in the international community and you brag in the open that I'm a criminal? What can you do to me? Because he has dared the international community, it looks like Paul Atanganje is going to go to jail. A lot of the other ministers are trying to distance themselves away from Paul Atanganje. And he said Ekane's family has already hired a French lawyer, William Boudon. This French lawyer has been handling cases involving the Rwanda genocide. So how is this going to play in La République du Cameroon? They're going to finish Atanganje. Now, Atanganje has the position of chargé de mission à la présidence de la République. So he will just be handling mission and errands for the Biya regime. He too has been taken out. Just imagine an illiterate has been running the Minister of Interior. When we talk about a Minister of Interior, Ministre de Administration Territoriale, ministers are heavyweight in this position. They are heavyweights. Those are the people that they put in that position. But Atanganje was put there because of the lessons he learned from Jean Fauchivet as a torturer. He kills people. Whenever the Biya government needed to kill people, they sent Atanganje. And he will brag about it with a lot of bravado. Now they've realized that he has done a lot of harm to the government. People like Atanganje made it impossible for the Biya regime to look for positive solutions to the Anglophone crisis. But Atanganje created the fake Amber Boys and was wreaking havoc, killing people every day. Even in his own place, where he comes from, they don't want to see him because he has killed so many people. So where is he going to run and where is he going to hide? Well, as the people say, he can run, but he cannot hide because Atanganje has to go to jail. And I think this will please a lot of people in the international community because Atanganje has created a genocide in Cameroon. The soldiers are singing more better blues because the soldiers have been fighting and dying. I don't want to show the pictures or videos of soldiers dying in Ambazonia. The pictures are so many, so many. I have them. I have so many pictures of people dying recently because of the clash of clans, clan warfare. People are fighting to replace Biya. General Usini Jibo was almost killed in Bamenda by using an IED, improvised explosive device. People are saying that where his vehicle was, there's no way the Ambazonian freedom fighters would have been able to get close to his vehicle. So how was this bomb implanted in his vehicle? Well, the suspicion is that people from the presidency, especially Atanganje, planned all of this to kill General Usini Jibo. The general himself was very, very open about the plot against him. So this is going to create more problems for the Biya regime. General Jibo Usini comes from the north. They were suspecting that he was supporting Tchiroma. As a result, they wanted to take him out because they thought he would be against the succession plan that has been laid out for Franck Biya to take over the country. They think he would prefer Tchiroma to take over the country, not Franck Biya. As a result, they had to make plans to get rid of him. And the plans are already there. Even Francois Peleni, another general from the north, he was sent to arrest and kill Issa Tchiroma. He refused that mission. So far, we've not heard about this guy anymore. So right now, most of the soldiers from the north are in serious trouble. There's a cloud of suspicion. Whether they've done anything wrong or not, the Biya regime is suspicious of their action. Now that things are working terribly, what about Franck Biya? Well, Franck Biya is a young guy without any experience. He came to the United States. He was selling drugs. They almost put him in jail. A deal was struck. Mendoza's son went to jail instead of Franck Biya. But what has Franck Biya been able to do for himself? Not much. He's just been stealing money, making money off wood in the eastern part of the country because his father is president. So he wants to stay in power and take over from his father. What he doesn't understand is the Cameroonians are not going to accept it, and they are fighting it tooth and nail. Already, Issa Tchiroma is not going to relent, because Franck Biya is the one, because people have found out that before people were saying that Franck Biya was apolitical. Not really. He is now the guy sitting while his father is dying. He's the president of the country. He's running things. So with a new cabinet reshuffle, Are Mengot has taken over as prime minister. John Gute has been put aside. Franck Biya is the de facto president. Then, of course, Paul Motaze, his cousin, is the new Secretary General at the presidency. Ferdinand Gongo has been put aside. So now, as you can see, Franck Biya has won the war of the clans. Chantal Biya has lost. Franck Biya has won. So Franck Biya now is the one running things in La République du Cameroon. Okay? So this is information that we're giving you that you did not know before. Franck Biya is the de facto president in waiting. Ferdinand Gongo is out. So how is he going to take it? Well, does he have any military backing? People say he has put together a lot of money. He is supported by the Israeli military establishment because he is part of the guys who control B, Bataillon d'Intervention Rapide, which is Biya's private army. You know, because of this army, your average soldier is singing the blues. Because of B, the other soldiers feel that they don't really have what they should get. Because B is like the enfant chéri, the spoiled child. B gets everything. The regular soldiers get nothing. So they are jealous of B. Because when you see much of what has been written about the Cameroon army, they lack materials. They cannot even defend the country. But they are forced to defend a dictator. And that's their frustration. That's why they are singing the blues. They are singing more better blues. The blues, as we keep telling you, this is music that was invented by African Americans. First, you had the Negro spirituals. The Negro spirituals were songs of pain, but they had the element of hope. When you sing the spirituals, you are hoping that God will deliver you from bondage. And eventually, God delivered the African Americans from the bondage of slavery. After that, they thought that their problem has been solved. No, that was just the beginning. Now they started singing the blues because they were despaired, disappointed. Okay? So, even the Cameroonian civilians, for so long, what they have been singing, I call it the Negro spirituals. Spiritual because they were singing songs of hope. They were hoping that Tchiroma would come and deliver them from the bondage of Paul Biya. Has it come to pass? Not yet. And that's why they keep singing those Negro spirituals, the Cameroonian population. Because they were hoping Tchiroma is a savior. He will save them from all the bondage. So we think the soldiers of La République are the ones who are really real. They understand that the Biya problem, dictatorship, is there. They are not really making any qualms. They understand that they are slaves. And what are they going to do? So it's more like they are within what I call a Bermuda Triangle. A very tough space where it's difficult to get out. You've heard of the Bermuda Triangle, right? Around Miami, Puerto Rico, there's an area where when planes get there, they get lost. So the soldiers just feel like they are lost. Because when you send them to a place like Ambazonia, they feel that they are lost. Ambazonia becomes hell on earth. It becomes a Bermuda Triangle. That's where most of these soldiers find themselves, within the Bermuda Triangle. Then, of course, Ambazonia is just one area. As much as the Biya government has refused to negotiate or make any peace, you also have the Boko Haram problem in the north of La République du Cameroon. So that's a serious problem for most of these soldiers. A lot of them have been killed. Images with you to show you what has been happening to these soldiers with Boko Haram. A lot of them have been killed, but the government is not reporting it. It's just like a silent war in the north. You have Garwa, Marwa, and Gaundere, all those areas. Boko Haram hits those areas, especially Marwa. That area is not also far from Lake Chad. The Boko Haram, they leave Nigeria. I mean, they dodge around and they create havoc. So a lot of soldiers have been dying. And people are not talking about it. So the soldiers are tired. They are singing the blues. that's not even enough. They are not just wedged between Ambazonia and the north. There is also problems in the east. You remember Central African Republic? There has been chaos over there. The Soviet guys who have taken over, they call them Russia, they are now in that area, but there's conflict, armed conflict. So this armed conflict even affects Cameroon. Sometimes Cameroon soldiers die in the east. So peace is no longer to be found. The soldiers are no longer at ease. So they keep singing the blues. The blues, the blues, the blues. That's what is happening. But the final message here is, with the new cabinet reshuffle, the people now are bent on taking on the Biya regime. And they found out that the best way to take on this regime is to use international law. So Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, has understood the weight of the problem. He has sized it up. He knows what he has to deal with. So he has to manage the Biya transition. Biya has to leave, but Franck Biya is not going to take over. So we think the international community is not siding with Franck Biya because Franck Biya is an unknown quantity. They don't think they want him to take over the country. So the soldiers themselves are singing the blues and they want freedom. They want freedom. It's not coming. So they are more like in an existentialist position. They look at the absurdity of their condition. They're fighting for freedom, but they are responsible. They chose to be soldiers, but now they are forced to serve one man, Paul Biya. So they have to start serving Franck Biya next. Franck Biya is very young, so he's going to be president for maybe 100 years, right? So the Biya family is the only family that can be president in Cameroon, right? That's the frustration of most of these soldiers. And they really want change. And the soldiers are ready now to fight. The one we predict, when we look at the tea leaves, when Issa Tchiroma returns to Cameroon, even though he says he's not going to use military might to take over power, but we think an armed conflict is looming in the north of Cameroon. Marwa, Garoua, Ngaoundéré. Those guys have been observing ghost towns. Even though the other areas have not been observing ghost towns, the north has been faithful to their son. They are observing ghost towns. And the way we see the problem in La République du Cameroon, Tchiroma is going to get help from Nigeria. And most of these other Muslim countries are going to give him help. So we are really ready for a serious armed conflict to take place in La République du Cameroon. So we've taken some time to really educate you on what is happening in this part of the world. The soldiers are speaking, so you have to understand. This is a moment of crisis. The crisis is going to take a different hue. Biya has put together his new cabinet. Most of the key guys, Atanganji is gone. He will just be helping Franck Biya to learn how to be president and kill people. Because that's the only job Atanganji can do well. The mission to be killing people, that's his mission. Mvondayolo is out. So now the presidency has been cleared of all these bad elements. So what we need to ask you is, how do you think Chantal is going to react in light of all what has happened so far? Chantal Biya. She has not been getting along with Franck Biya. So if Franck Biya has defeated her in the contest to be president, is she going to take it lightly? We don't think so. It remains to be seen. People are very, very calculating. They calculate the way they're going to respond to what happens to them. So they don't just act in anger. So the next thing now is you have to watch most of these actors. Ferdinand Gongo. How is he going to react to the idea of losing power? Motaze is going to get into the presidency from the Minister of Finance. He will now be in the presidency as the all-powerful Secretary General. He's Biya's nephew. So he has the trust of the Bulu clan. So which means the Bulus have won the war of succession in Cameroon. That's the message we are telling you today. The Bulus have won, the Wondos have lost. But of course, you know, the Etones are always in a corner. They don't trust them. Since the days of André Marin Bida, who was an Eton person, the Tones have not really had power. So they want those play games with the Bulus and keep them out. The Tones are very tough. They are very patriotic, which is why the French don't like to have them in the center of power. But of course, you remember our national anthem, the Cameroon national anthem. We cannot end this show but by reminding you to listen to the words of the national anthem. They ring hollow when you look at the way Paul Biya has turned Cameroon into a war zone. Thank you very much, my friends. Bye-bye.
Selling a service or a product? Need buyers? Use the African Nation TV as a channel to reach many viewers. Act now and call Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131. That's 240-350-1131. Act today.